Hello and welcome back to my garden. Believe it or not, this is take 5 or 6. I've lost track. I keep screwing into the lines up here. When I moved down here from New York to North Carolina, one of the things that I missed from New York was hellebores. So in 2021, I went out and I bought a bunch of hellebores from a local garden center. And I think I purchased a few others online perhaps. Either way, I didn't really have a good shady spot to put them in because this garden at the time had very little shade unless you were hiding behind a pine tree somewhere out in the garden that I was gonna take down anyways. So what I did with the hellebores I purchased was I potted them up. And I think I have something like 6 of them or more. I've lost track. But I potted them up, and many of these have been in pots now for almost 4 years now. So I'm going to start putting some of these into the ground, and I'm going to start transplanting them now. Now, from my understanding, the best time to do this is springtime, allegedly, perhaps. I'm going to do it now here in fall because I'm in growing zone 8B. It is still very warm out. The upcoming weeks are going to be very warm. So my theory is that once I plant these into the ground today, they'll have time to start acclimating to the ground, to the soil, and hopefully root out into the ground. And this way, by the time November, December, January comes along, whenever we get our first frost/freezes, plants will be well rooted into the ground and there won't be any problems. Theoretically, this is what I'm going with. Either that or I'm going to wind up killing all 3 of these hellebores, but I don't think so. When I first moved down here, this driveway bed here was a lot less developed. Longtime viewers may know that this was all nothing but grass. And today it is a whole lot more. I have a magnolia, I've got a couple of oak leaf hydrangeas, the ferns have just grown beautifully, and there's a ton of other plants that are in here that do appreciate shade. I'm not going to bore you with the plantings that I have here, all the plantings that I have here in this bed, but this bed has come a long way. And most recently I added in the brick border that you see down here at my feet, which has really helped define and finish shaping the space. So enough prattling, let's start planting some hellebores. The other reason I put these in pots when I got them was because during the winter time, they're fine up on the back deck. In fact, I usually make a display where I stack them outside the back door, so when I'm walking in and out, I can see those beautiful flowers in December, January, February. I think that's when they usually flower. It's actually January, February, something like that. Anywho, and then as the temperature got warmer, I could move them kind of under my back deck, and this way they could remain fairly shaded. But now, as I said, this space has gotten so well developed that I can turn around and plant these directly into the ground and they should be fine. All right, now let's pick one. Let's go with winter plum. And what I would do every year is I would either top off the compost in the pot or I would just fertilize. But as I said, many of these have been in here for a very long time. In fact, I have no idea how hard or easy it is going to be to get these out of here. I think I'm putting pot knife on my Christmas wish list. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I don't know if you can see this, but it's fairly root bound. So we're going to see what we can do to clean some of this up. Some of these roots, especially towards the bottom, seem to be dead, which would be reasonable. Again, they've been in the pot a really long time. So I'm basically just tearing off a lot of roots here. And hopefully, like I said, I'm not killing the plant, but it will reinvigorate this plant to start pushing out a lot of new roots into the new ground. I also have quite a few weeds here. And I'm going to see if I can knock off quite a bit of the potting soil that was on here, because it's very old. So I could probably go further. Some of these roots are just... That's a loud bird. All right, I'm not going to go too much further on this guy, but I've shaken off a lot of the potting soil and I've taken off a lot of the roots that were just clumped on the bottom. Again, these hellebores have been in the pots a very long time, and yet you could see it's putting on all sorts of new growth. Now, I probably just set the plant back quite a bit. But I'm hopeful that it will recover and bounce back. If you don't think it'll recover, if you think I'm a plant monster and I've just destroyed this plant, please leave those comments below. Let me know what you think. But I'm hopeful that by doing this, now the plant can start spreading out into the ground, and hopefully I haven't traumatized it too much. If anything, I've invigorated it. Fresco is the next one. So let's dig a hole for this one. Now I'm bringing these towards the front of the bed, and right now this fern is kind of in the way, but I think it'll get maybe a prune back, or it'll start dying back during the winter time. So I'll give it a bit of a prune. It shouldn't be a problem therefore for the hellebore. Now this one, it's got a couple of dead stems, but it looks like, yeah, it is starting to push up new growth. So that's good. So let's pop this one out. That pot out of the way. This one doesn't seem to be as root bound, but I'm going to see if I can tease a lot of the potting soil off. Because again, a lot of this is old potting soil. Try to get through some of these weeds. All right, so got a lot of that off. I'm going to tuck this guy in. See if I can push a lot of this soil back in and add some more fresh compost. And hopefully now, what I do with the other label, always label my plants this way I know which one is which. Hopefully, these two take off and start thriving. And then, depending upon how they grow, if they do survive and how they grow, I may wind up digging them up in a year or two and dividing them. Because they were constrained in the pot, I don't think that they would need, well, they didn't look like they needed division. But who knows what they'll do in a few years. Either way, let's clean up this mess and move on to the next one. Okay, so this next one I'm going to plant is cinnamon rose hellebore. And I'm going to do it again right up in front here. I'll stick a label in there first, and there's some weeds in here, so I think I'm going to try to pull them out first. Get all sorts of clover and other stuff in here. Now this one seems to have a lot of old growth on it. I don't really see a lot of new growth so far as leaves are concerned here. But that's okay, it is still alive. Either way, I'm going to dig a hole and we're going to stick this in it. Now let's see how easy this one comes out of the pot. There we go. Move the pot to the side. Get rid of a lot of the soil. This one, yeah, no, not a lot of, well, there's a lot of roots on one side, which is weird. Seems to be a lot of dead roots on the bottom. And the reason I say they're dead is they're a dark brown, if not black. Newer roots are generally whiter. So maybe this guy had a bit of a setback. So I'm being absolutely brutal at this moment, and I'm just cutting back a lot of those roots. I'm either going to kill it or I'm going to save it, one or the other. Leave your comments below as to which you think. Get off as much of the potting soil as I can. Tease out some of these roots. I already took out a lot of roots. I, again, don't want to kill the plant, although I might be. There we go. And we'll plant it up and we will see what happens. And again, with a little luck, maybe it'll be flowering in January or February. So I have 5 remaining hellebores in pots, and I'm going to keep them in pots because, as I stated earlier in the video, I like to have that display right outside my back door on the deck of the flowers when nothing else is obviously flowering because it's cold and it's wintry out. So it is nice to have that, just a little bit of color and it's just nice to have. But what I will do is I will repot all of them. So I'm going to pull them all out of their pots. I will break up all of that compacted potting soil. I will take away all of those bottom roots, which seem to me to be dead to me, because again, they're either dark brown or black. And I'll try to knock off as much of the potting soil away from the plants as I can. and I will plant them into fresh new potting soil for the upcoming season. And I think that will be safe. I'll wait another few weeks, probably another 3 to 4 weeks. As the temperature starts to cool, it'll be an easier job for me to do when it's cooler out. And I think it'll be less stress on the plants themselves. Right now, they're in the shade of the deck. They're by the back stairs. And that's where they'll stay until, like I said, probably December, January, when I'll move them up towards the back door, when that afternoon sun isn't as brutal, isn't as hot, and isn't as stressing to the plants as it is now. Because even though we're almost into October, believe it or not, it's 80 degrees out today. It's still quite humid. It's quite hot. And it's kind of going to be that way for the next week at least. There's still a lot to do here in the garden, so if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, click that bell icon to be notified when I do post up a new video. There's plants to plant, there's things to dig up and transplant. I'm going to be probably in the next few weeks, if it does cool off, I'll be moving all of my peonies to one area of the garden. So that will be upcoming. I will be doing probably in the next month or so. I'm starting to make my new custom edging now. That edging will probably be going in probably in the next 3 to 4 weeks. So again, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. This way you can follow along as I plant out my new edging. For those of you who have hit the community page and seen some of my posts up there recently, polls, quizzes, etc., thank you. If you haven't checked out my community page, please go check out the community page over on YouTube. There's all sorts of good stuff there, from books I'm reading to quizzes to polls, all sorts of good stuff. And right now the community seems to be split 50-50 of whether I should do my new decorative edging over by the veg garden in terracotta or gray. So if you haven't voted, head over to the community page, throw in your own 2 cents, leave a comment if you want. And I think that's going to about do it for today. Thank you all for watching. Please tell your friends, families, loved ones, grown to be old guy. Check out all the links below. You guys know the drill. I'm going to catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.